The Black Dahlia murder is one of the most chilling and perplexing unsolved crimes in American history. On January 15, 1947, the body of 22-year-old Elizabeth Short was discovered in a vacant lot in Los Angeles, mutilated and severed in half. The image of her body, drained of blood with a grotesque smile carved on her face, shocked the nation. Decades later, the case remains unsolved, with theories, suspects, and intrigue surrounding it. What happened to Elizabeth Short? Was she a victim of a deranged killer? Or is there something more to this story? Join us as we unravel the mystery of the Black Dahlia murder, the life of Elizabeth Short. Elizabeth Short was born on July 29, 1924, in Boston, Massachusetts. Her childhood, though initially full of promise, was marred by hardship. Her father, George Short, abandoned the family when Elizabeth was just an infant, leaving her mother, Phoebe, to raise Elizabeth and her sisters alone. Elizabeth's father's disappearance was mysterious. It was believed that he had died in a car accident, but no body was ever found. This left Elizabeth with a sense of abandonment that would affect her throughout her life. As a teenager, Elizabeth moved to Miami, Florida, in hopes of starting fresh. She had dreams of becoming an actress, and Hollywood was calling. At the age of 18, she moved to California with aspirations of making it big. Her beauty was undeniable. She had dark, wavy hair, a pale complexion, and striking blue eyes. Yet her journey to stardom was never realized. Elizabeth worked a series of low-paying jobs, including waitressing, while trying to break into the entertainment industry. Despite her beauty and charm, she never managed to land significant roles, and her career remained stagnant. The dark side of Hollywood. Although Elizabeth Short wasn't able to break into Hollywood, she wasn't an isolated figure either. In the months leading up to her death, Elizabeth became known for her romantic entanglements. She was often seen with various men, many of whom were older and wealthy. Though she was never publicly involved with any major Hollywood figures, it was reported that Elizabeth had a string of relationships with men in the entertainment industry, including a few notable personalities. She was often described as a man-eater, someone who used her looks to attract and manipulate men, but also as someone who was often heartbroken and searching for stability in her life. One of the most important aspects of her life was her relationship with a man named Robert Manley, a married businessman. He was the last person to see her alive before her death, and their relationship has been the subject of much scrutiny. Elizabeth's lifestyle in Los Angeles, though busy, was also very transient. She had trouble finding stable housing and often stayed with friends or in cheap apartments around town. She was seen by many as a struggling but hopeful young woman who was trying to make her mark in the City of Angels. But that hope would soon be shattered. The final days. The last known sighting of Elizabeth Short took place on January 9, 1947. She had been out drinking at the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, a well-known hangout for young actresses and aspiring stars. She was last seen by a bellboy who had escorted her to the lobby of the hotel. Elizabeth was reportedly in good spirits that evening, chatting with people and making plans to meet her friend, Robert Manley, later. Over the next few days, Elizabeth's whereabouts became unclear. Her friends later reported that they had not seen or heard from her, and no one seemed to know where she had gone. On January 15th, 6 days after she was last seen, Elizabeth Short's body was found in a vacant lot on Norton Avenue in Leimert Park, a neighborhood in Los Angeles. The discovery of the body. When the body of Elizabeth Short was discovered, it was a sight that no one would forget. Her body was severed at the waist, cleanly cut, and drained of blood. There were deep cuts on her body, and the skin around her mouth had been mutilated, creating the appearance of a grotesque smile. The murderer had taken great care to position her body in a way that would maximize the shock value of the discovery. In addition, there were signs that her killer had cleaned the scene, suggesting that they had intended to keep the murder as secretive as possible. What shocked investigators even more was the fact that Elizabeth Short's body had been abandoned in a public area where it could easily be discovered. The meticulousness of the crime and the cold detachment with which it was carried out suggested that the killer was calculating and remorseless. The gruesome nature of the murder immediately attracted media attention. The press, eager for sensational stories, dubbed the victim the Black Dahlia, a reference to the dark clothes she had been wearing, as well as a nod to the popular film noir genre of the time. The name would come to define the case, but it also oversimplified the complexity of Elizabeth Short's life and death. The investigation begins. As soon as the body was discovered, the Los Angeles Police Department launched an intensive investigation into the murder. Detectives interviewed friends, family, and acquaintances of Elizabeth Short, hoping to uncover any clues that might lead them to the identity of her killer. However, the investigation quickly hit roadblocks. There were no witnesses, no physical evidence, and no clear motive for the crime. One of the first leads that emerged was the man who had been seen with Elizabeth Short just before her disappearance, Robert Manley. Manley was questioned by the police, but he was soon cleared of suspicion when it was revealed that he had no direct involvement in the crime. Over time, several other suspects were considered, including various men Elizabeth had known, but none of them were ever conclusively tied to the murder. In the months following the murder, the investigation seemed to stall. Dozens of suspects were interviewed, and over 100 people confessed to the crime, but none of the confessions were credible. Some investigators speculated that Elizabeth Short's murder was part of a pattern of similar crimes in the area, but no solid connections could be made. As the weeks turned into months, the case became more and more difficult to solve. Theories and suspects. Over the years, a variety of theories have emerged regarding who killed Elizabeth Short. Some believe that the killer was a deranged individual with a personal vendetta against her, while others think that Elizabeth may have been the victim of a more calculated serial killer. One of the most persistent theories is that the murderer may have been someone within Hollywood itself, someone who had a personal connection to Elizabeth. One prominent theory centers around the idea that Elizabeth Short's death may have been connected to the world of Hollywood's elite. Some believe that she may have been targeted because she was involved with several influential men, or perhaps because her aspirations in Hollywood had led her to make powerful enemies. This theory posits that her murder was not a random act of violence, but a carefully planned and executed crime designed to send a message to others who were involved in the entertainment industry. Another theory suggests that Elizabeth's murder may have been the work of a serial killer, someone who was targeting young women in the Los Angeles area. The similarities between the Black Dahlia case and other unsolved murders from that time period have fueled this theory. However, no concrete evidence has ever emerged to suggest that the Black Dahlia murder was part of a larger pattern of killings. As for the killer's identity, there are several suspects who have been named over the years, but none have been definitively linked to the crime. Among the potential suspects are various men who were in contact with Elizabeth Short before her death, as well as individuals who were known to have been involved in violent crimes during that time period. Despite extensive investigations, the true identity of Elizabeth Short's killer remains unknown. The legacy of the Black Dahlia. The mystery of her death has been the subject of countless books, films, and documentaries, all attempting to uncover the truth behind one of the most chilling murders in American history. But despite all the attention, the case remains unsolved. Elizabeth Short's tragic death has also left a lasting impact on Los Angeles and its reputation. For many, the story of Elizabeth Short represents not only the loss of a young woman with untapped potential, but also a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of Hollywood's glamorous facade. Though countless theories and suspects have emerged over the years, the truth behind her brutal death remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Was Elizabeth Short the victim of a deranged killer, a sinister conspiracy, or something even darker? Will we ever know the identity of the Black Dahlia's killer, or will this chilling crime remain locked in the shadows of history, forever unsolved? If you're captivated by true crime and want to stay up to date with the latest mysteries and investigations, make sure to subscribe. Join us as we continue to delve into the most intriguing cases that still baffle the world today. Don't miss out. Subscribe now and become part of the conversation.